The air hung heavy with the smell of stale coffee and shattered dreams. Detective John Smith, broke and drowning in unpaid bills, sat in his dimly lit office. The only sound was the incessant ticking of a clock, mocking his dwindling funds. A lone fly buzzed annoyingly, adding insult to injury. He specialized in finding lost things, a skill that seemed to have deserted him in his personal life. The phone, his only connection to the outside world, rang, startling him. He picked it up, his voice gruff with disinterest. Smith Investigations, misery loves company. You've found the right place.
Is this, Detective Smith? I need your help. There's been, well, a murder.
Suddenly the stale air in the room crackled with new energy. Murder meant money, and for a man in Smith's position, even death was a business opportunity. The drive to the scene of the crime was long and arduous. The road twisted and turned, each bend revealing more of the dense fog that seemed to swallow the car whole. The headlights barely pierced through the thick mist, casting eerie shadows that danced on the wet asphalt. Rain lashed against the windshield, blurring the world outside into a canvas of greys and blacks. The rhythmic pounding of the rain was almost hypnotic, a relentless reminder of the storm's fury. Each drop seemed to echo the tension that hung in the air, a prelude to the dark events that awaited. Smith, unfazed, navigated the treacherous roads with an almost bored familiarity. His hands gripped the steering wheel with a steady confidence, eyes scanning the road ahead with a practiced ease. Years of experience had honed his instincts, making him almost immune to the dangers that would unnerve a lesser driver. Years of chasing shadows in the city's underbelly had inured him to the elements. The rain, the darkness, the uncertainty, they were all part of the job. He had seen it all, from the darkest alleys to the most opulent mansions, and nothing surprised him anymore. The city was a living, breathing entity, full of secrets and lies, and he was its relentless pursuer. He arrived at a stately mansion perched precariously on a cliff overlooking the stormy sea. The waves crashed violently against the rocks below, a symphony of nature's wrath that matched the turmoil within. The mansion stood as a testament to a bygone era, its grandeur now overshadowed by the ominous clouds that loomed overhead. The place reeked of old money, the kind that whispered tales of both immense privilege and deep, dark secrets. The walls were adorned with portraits of stern-faced ancestors, their eyes seeming to follow him as he moved. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood and leather, a sensory reminder of the mansion's storied past. As he stepped out of his car, the wind whipped his coat around him like a shroud. The rain pelted down, soaking him to the bone within seconds. He pulled his collar up against the storm, his mind already racing with questions about the case that had brought him here. The elements were relentless, but so was he. The nervous voice on the phone belonged to a young maid, her face pale and drawn. She had sounded desperate, her words tumbling out in a rush as she described the scene she had stumbled upon. Her fear was palpable, a stark contrast to the opulence that surrounded her. She was a small, fragile figure in a world that seemed too big and too dark. She led him through the opulent yet strangely silent house to the scene of the crime, the grand library. The silence was almost deafening, broken only by the soft creak of the floorboards under their feet. The hallways were lined with artifacts and paintings, each one a silent witness to the mansion's history. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, holding its breath in anticipation. The room was a testament to wealth, lined with shelves that groaned under the weight of countless leather-bound books. Each book was a piece of history, a story waiting to be told. The library was a sanctuary of knowledge, its grandeur only marred by the grim reality that now lay at its center. In the center of this shrine to knowledge lay the body. It was a stark, jarring contrast to the elegance that surrounded it. The lifeless form seemed out of place, a grim reminder that even in the most beautiful of places, darkness could find a foothold. The scene was set, and the investigation was about to begin. The victim lay sprawled on a Persian rug, an antique worth more than Smith's entire existence. The rug's intricate patterns and rich colors seemed almost too vibrant for the grim scene it now hosted. It was a piece of art, a testament to exquisite taste, now marred by the presence of death. The man was impeccably dressed, his tailored suit a stark contrast to the crimson stain blooming on his chest. The suit, likely custom-made, spoke of wealth and sophistication. Yet it was now a canvas for violence. A single gunshot wound marred his otherwise pristine attire. The entry wound was small, precise, suggesting a professional hand behind the trigger. It was a clean shot, devoid of the usual chaos that accompanies such acts. Smith knelt beside the body, his keen eyes scanning the scene. He was a seasoned detective, and his mind was already piecing together the puzzle. Every detail mattered, from the angle of the wound to the position of the body. The air, thick with the metallic tang of blood, felt strangely cold, as if the room itself was holding its breath. The dim lighting cast long shadows, adding to the eerie atmosphere. It was as if the room was a silent witness to the crime, holding secrets within its walls. A grandfather clock ticked ominously in the corner, its steady rhythm a morbid counterpoint to the stillness of death. Each tick seemed louder than the last, echoing through the silence like a countdown to some unseen event. As he examined the scene, something felt off. Smith's instincts, honed by years of experience, told him that this was no ordinary murder. There was a sense of deliberation, of careful planning that set his nerves on edge. The victim's pose, for one, seemed staged. It was too perfect, too deliberate, as if someone had taken great care to arrange the body just so. It was a tableau, a macabre display meant to convey a message. It was as if the man had been meticulously arranged for dramatic effect. Every detail, from the angle of his limbs to the expression on his face, seemed calculated to evoke a specific reaction. It was a chilling thought that someone had taken the time to create this scene. And the gun, a pearl-handled revolver that looked more at home in a museum than in a murder scene, lay too neatly on the floor. It was almost theatrical. The revolver was an antique, a collector's item, and its presence here was as puzzling as it was significant. Suddenly a gasp tore through the silence. It was a sound that shattered the stillness, a sharp intake of breath that drew Smith's attention immediately. Smith looked up to see the corpse's hand twitch. It was a small movement, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to send a jolt of adrenaline through him. The dead man was very much alive. His eyes fluttered open, and for a moment they locked onto Smith's, filled with a mixture of pain and confusion. The case had just taken a turn for the unexpected. Section 4, The Lazarus Act. A tale of deception, drama, and unexpected twists. The corpse's eyes fluttered open wide with a mixture of confusion and amusement. It was as if he had just awoken from a bizarre dream, unsure of where he was or what had happened. He sat up, groaning theatrically as he clutched his chest. The groan was exaggerated, almost comical, as if he were an actor in a melodrama.
Oh, the pain, the sheer agony of it all. His voice was filled with mock torment echoing through the room.
He exclaimed, his voice a booming baritone that belied his supposed demise. It was a voice that commanded attention, one that could not be ignored. Smith stared, his jaw slack with disbelief. He had seen many things in his career, but this was beyond anything he could have imagined. He'd seen a lot of strange things in his career, but this took the cake. The sheer audacity of the act left him speechless. The corpse, a portly man with a flamboyant moustache, chuckled at the detective's dumbfounded expression. His laughter was rich and full, a stark contrast to the grim setting.
Ah, the look on your face, detective. Priceless. He reveled in the moment, enjoying the detective's bewilderment. You see, I believe in making an entrance, even if it's my own death scene. His gestures were grand, his tone dripping with theatrical flair.
The man, Arthur Matthews by name, explained that it was all an elaborate prank, a desperate attempt to get his wife's attention. He spoke with a mix of pride and desperation, hoping to justify his actions. He'd hired an actor to fire a blank at him during a dinner party, hoping to evoke some sympathy, some concern from his seemingly indifferent spouse. The plan was meticulously crafted, every detail considered. Smith, however, was not amused. His face remained stern, his eyes cold and unyielding. He rose to his feet, his voice dangerously quiet. The room seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his next words.
Let me get this straight. You staged your own death for attention? His tone was incredulous, laced with disbelief and a hint of anger.
Before Arthur could respond, a strangled gasp escaped his lips. The sound was raw, filled with genuine terror. His eyes widened in genuine fear as he clutched at his chest, this time for real. The pain was unmistakable, his expression one of sheer panic. His face, moments ago flushed with amusement, turned a sickly gray. The color drained from his cheeks, leaving him looking ghostly. Then, with a final shuddering breath, he slumped back onto the rug. The room fell silent, the gravity of the situation sinking in, dead again, this time for good. The irony was not lost on anyone present. Section 5, Double Jeopardy, Eternal Stakes.